foundational literacy and numeracy levels in Zambia. Motivated by government's commitment to education and the support of the international community, ZOX as a key stakeholder in the provision of education considered it imperative to engage with honorable members of parliament. In this regard, and guided by the foregoing, we hereby submit the matters and recommendations contained in this paper for your kind consideration. Achieving universal literacy and numeracy is a critical goal in Zambia's education development agenda. These skills are emphasized in the national's vision for education, with the 1996 policy document Educating Our Future, prioritizing resources for public education. Two major reforms have shaped the system: Education for All policy and the 2023 curriculum review. The 8th National Development Plan for our country for the period 2022 to 2026 on pages 48 and 49 highlights the importance of foundational literacy and numeracy and recognizes the development of these skills must begin from early childhood education. But it does not continue this emphasis on foundational learning within the primary years, despite the fact that primary school is essential for these skills to develop. Zambia is experiencing a significant learning crisis in which high levels of school enrollment, particularly in primary level and even secondary level, have not translated into adequate learning outcomes. Despite government efforts and interventions, such as the free education policy, foundational literacy and numeracy remain very low in our country. This situation underscores the urgent need for comprehensive national strategies and remedial programs to address learning gaps within the education sector. In response, initiatives have been introduced in recent years focusing on strengthening literacy and numeracy in primary schools. Programs such as Catch Up, implemented by many partners, among others in Zambia community schools, alongside teacher support initiatives led by institutions such as UNICEF and many others, have focused on strengthening basic reading and math skills. Recognizing the importance of early grade literacy, Zambia has demonstrated commitment through the recruitment of trained teachers, curriculum reforms aimed at addressing foundational learning challenges. Complementing these efforts, His Excellency our President Hakainde Hichilema was nominated as a champion for foundational learning in Africa, marking a significant milestone in national and regional advocacy for foundational learning. This document, members of Parliament therefore presents ZOC's contribution to the study entitled Reviewing the State of Foundational Literacy and Numeracy Levels in Primary Schools in Zambia. Another sub-theme, current levels of foundational literacy and numeracy in primary schools. According to the Association for Development and Education in Africa, ADEA, Zambia faces a severe foundational learning crisis. Statistics indicate that approximately 98 to 99% of 10-year-olds are unable to read and understand a simple text, reflecting high levels of learning poverty. The World Bank in the 2024 report indicates that Sub-Saharan Africa has about 86.3% of children affected by learning poverty, while in Zambia the figure could be higher than predicted by the World Bank. Recent assessment further revealed that only about 4% of grade 2 learners were reading at age-appropriate levels, while many grade 6 learners perform at grade 3 competence levels in both literacy and numeracy. Recent statistics indicate disturbing low levels of basic literacy and numeracy among learners in mathematics, as at the end of primary school, according to UNESCO, a Global Education Monitoring Report of 2024. According to the 2024 Spotlight Report on Basic Education, Completion and Foundational Learning Report, in 2023, only 10% of grade 7 learners achieved minimum proficiency in reading and 16% in mathematics. At grade 4, just about 12% reached expected level in reading and 14% in mathematics. Results fall short that 24% of grade 7 pupils in mathematics and 45% in reading had not even met the minimum proficiency expected at grade 3. Some of the contributing factors, learning poverty is among them. A large proportion of learners are not acquiring basic skills despite increased access to schooling. Overcrowding and resource constraints. Increased enrollment has strained infrastructure, resulting in overcrowded classrooms and shortages of teaching and learning materials. The disparities in pupil-teacher ratio across the schools varies dramatically, with some schools maintaining the ratios below 30, while others exceeding 100. Such disparities reflect inefficiencies in teacher allocation and undermine equitable access to quality education. Overcrowded classrooms in high pupil-teacher ratio schools compromise individualized instruction and student outcomes. Teacher preparedness. Many teachers struggle to address diverse learning levels due to limited time, training, and instructional resources. Despite these challenges, members of Parliament, the government has prioritized foundational learning, and in collaboration with UNICEF and the African Union, launched an ambitious national campaign aligned with the Foundational Learning Exchange Flex 2024 commitments, where Zambia was the first country to commit on the continent to launch the End Learning Poverty for All in Africa campaign. This campaign focuses on the urgent need for leaders, policymakers, and development practitioners and partners and communities to take action to address the issues of ending learning poverty among school-going children in Africa and Zambia in particular. The campaign aims to increase the number of children who can read, write, and perform basic math at age 1, ensuring has access to quality foundational literacy and numeracy by year 2025. On teacher training and support for foundational learning and numeracy, in Zambia, many primary school teachers do not receive enough teacher in-service training. Continuing professional development. This can stunt progression within primary school, and the level of knowledge and skill teachers need around foundational learning skills. Existing programs are under-resourced and underfunded, often without materials relating to what teachers need to use in the classroom. School leaders have an important role to play in supporting teachers in teaching literacy and numeracy effectively and confidently. Currently, however, there is a gap in the provision. School leaders generally receive no training on foundational learning. Additionally, teachers are vital to improving the quality of schools and best placed to deliver high-quality teaching that improves foundational learning skills. Every teacher should know how to teach reading and basic maths and deliver impactful teaching. They can only do so if there is a robust teacher development strategy or plan in place from which teachers can tap from. The effectiveness of foundational literacy and numeracy instruction depends greatly on how well teachers are trained and supported. The current support to teachers to teach foundational learning in Zambia is through the means of education adopted teaching at the right level approach, which prioritizes foundational learning from primary school children. Under this model, teachers provide differentiated instruction outside regular classroom hours, tailoring lessons to learners' actual skills levels rather than their grade assessment. The culture program, which is well known, honorable members, as remediation, derived from the teaching at grade level, the current learning level. This methodology was introduced to address the challenge of learners in grade 3, 4, and 5 who had advanced through the system but still lacked essential foundational learning competencies. Teaching at the right level emphasizes building on core skills in reading, comprehension, self-expression, and mathematics. To suit the Zambian context, the Ministry of Education has localized teaching at the right level and rolled it out nationwide through the catch-up program. As of April 2025, the initiative had reached over 800,000 learners across over 5,000 schools in 93 districts over 9 provinces of our beautiful country. Other support programs such as the Continuous Professional Development Program exist but inconsistently implemented, particularly in rural areas. Development partners have supported capacity building initiatives such as catch-up programs which promote hands-on, play-based learning, and the use of real-world examples. Observations by the means of education indicate measurable improvements in lesson delivery and learner engagement. On the issue of availability of teaching and learning materials for early grade reading and mathematics, the ability of these resources are still limited. Material shortages, I think, have been experienced. High pupil book ratios still a reality that most schools face, and limited utilizations of the same is still observed. Distribution inadequacies where materials are available and they don't or hardly get to the schools. Inappropriate content. Sometimes some of the materials that is there is not culturally suitable for early learners. Insufficient teacher training. Some teachers still lack basic skills to effectively deliver foundational learning and numeracy to the children. On the issue of urban and rural disparities in foundational learning, significant disparities exist between urban and rural schools in terms of resource allocation, teacher deployment, and learning outcomes. Qualified teachers are disproportionately concentrated in urban areas, where rural areas often rely on less qualified or volunteer teachers, as we have observed. Many rural schools lack basic infrastructure such as adequate classrooms, desks, and clean water, negatively affecting attendance and learning outcomes. We are thankful that CDF has changed the face of many schools, and we have seen a lot of schools being supported to address some of these challenges. While in contrast, urban schools are more likely to have better facilities, libraries, and learning materials, contributing to improved literacy and numeracy among learners in urban schools. Disparities in pupil-teacher ratios are still high in rural areas compared to their colleagues in urban areas. Teacher attrition and transfer. Weaknesses in recruitment processes and inconsistent adherence to teacher management regulations have resulted in high attrition rates and frequent transfers. The majority of those transfers occur from rural to urban areas, leaving remote schools chronically understaffed. Inadequate teacher competencies. Evidence from the Examination Council of Zambia's 2021 National Assessment highlights deficiencies in subject knowledge and pedagogical skills among the teaching staff. These gaps reduce instructional effectiveness and hinder students' achievement in critical subjects such as mathematics and science. Rural school challenges. It is a well-known fact, honorable members, that rural schools face persistent shortages of trained teachers, overcrowded classrooms, and limited access to teaching and learning materials. Without targeted interventions, rural learners will remain disadvantaged. Honorable members of Parliament, allow me to look at some of the challenges and recommendations that we are making. Overcrowding and overstretched infrastructure following free education policy. We have seen millions of children, Zambian children, go back to school, but we want to believe that given the population growth in our country, we could still have children that are still out of school that still need to be catered for. Limited teacher capacity in learner-centered and evidence-based methodologies. High pupil-teacher ratios, particularly in early childhood education and early grades. Currently, we know that most of our schools have an annex ACE center, but we know that we still have many more other children entering primary school without ECE experience. Lack of training for teaching and social emotional learning, and consistently learners are not exposed to the right skills that they need to be exposed to. Gaps in curriculum implementation and teacher preparedness. Low teacher motivation due to limited institutional support and salary grades for foundational grades. Language barriers in multilingual learning environments, and this is a reality. We have seen switching from mother tongue to our familiar language to English, and now from the language of instruction being English, and that has affected some of the learners. Persistently low literacy and numeracy proficiency levels, as we have highlighted in our documentation. We do have recommendations, honorable members of Parliament, that we are making. The first one is that we need to strengthen teacher development and ensure equitable distribution of teaching and learning materials across our country and in the schools. Improve pre-service and in-service teacher training in universities and colleges of education with a strong emphasis on evidence-based literacy and numeracy pedagogy. Provide continuing professional development coaching and mentorship, particularly for teachers in rural areas at both school and zonal levels. Promote parental and community engagement in foundational learning for practical support and skills enhancement. The need for deliberate capacity building for school leadership roles, unlike promoting the teachers who do not understand foundational grades and management. Conduct regular learning assessments to monitor foundational learning quality and guide instructional improvements. Recruit and retain more teachers in rural areas and focus on foundational grades. Teacher training to include social emotional learning. There is also need to improve assessments and assessment results for decision making and class allocation to help foundational grades as well as ECE. We also recommend that remediation should be used as a temporary measure and emphasize that there should be long-term programs such as primary literacy programs for Zambia and investment in early foundational stage by the government. Thank you, and we submit for kind consideration.
Thank you very much. May I also mention we are live on TV and we also have ZNBC. Welcome for joining us now. Honorable members, you are now free to seek clarification and ask questions. Thank you. Honorable Daka, you may not the questions. Then, yeah.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I'm Honorable Elias Daka, Member of Parliament from Sansara constituency. Chair, I also wanted to congratulate the grade 12s for making a good results this year, particularly the people of Eastern Province. I want to thank them and for consistently coming out number 1.
That's very good.
Yes, so I really thank the people of Eastern Province. Chair, I wanted to find out, maybe to seek more clarity on your recommendation, where you mentioned to say recruit and maintain qualified teachers in rural areas. What is your advice to the ministry responsible? How can they maintain qualified teachers in rural areas? Because this is a real challenge that we have as a nation. Once employed, teachers want to go back into urban areas. So what is your advice and how can they do it? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Mtimba, Honorable Banda, Honorable Sumsing, in that order.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chair, for the opportunity, and thank you so much, Zox, for the presentation. My name is Twamba Mtimba, Member of Parliament for Itezitezi constituency. I think I just want to understand all the challenges and the recommendations. You have indicated that language barriers in multilingual learning environments. So I just want to learn how can we, but when I was looking at the recommendations, I couldn't find what mitigation measure can be applied to addressing multilingual learning environments, because I don't know how we can deal with this, but we're not in control of the environment that our children now are being brought. So that's why I want to understand, how do you feel we can address this challenge? Then the second one is on the salary grades. What specific recommendations are you making with regard to how the salaries are structured between the teachers who are providing services at foundation level and the teachers who are providing equal services? Maybe foundation level services, I know that they're even more complex. So what exactly are you proposing? How would you want the current structure to be defined so that the motivation that you have highlighted here can be addressed? Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Honorable Banda.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. As let me take you to your document on page 8. And I want to believe that here this document is talking about early childhood. Inadequate teacher competencies. your document says teachers are failing to effectively teach math and science. So I'm wondering whether those early childhood teachers are now subject teachers or are they class teachers? Because if it's a class teacher, I believe that they are to teach all the subject. Perhaps with what you've written here, it shows like they're failing to teach math and science. Are these subject teachers or these class teachers? If they're class teachers, so are they failing to actually just effectively give instruction with regards to math and science? Chairperson, thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Mzingi.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Zox, for such an elaborate presentation. Maybe for you to page 9 under your recommendations, you did indicate that there's a need to strengthen teacher development. And on point 2 on the same page, you've recommended for strong emphasis on evidence-based literacy and numerous pedagogy. Now, how can this be improved? Is it the issue of curriculum at pre-service? Because many of the witnesses that have come, they've complained that there are teacher skills gaps, because many of these pre-service teaching, they do emphasize on pedagogy, but for primary and other areas, while ECE, literacy and numerous, in terms of the teaching pedagogy, it looks like there isn't so much emphasis. That's why when they go to these ECE schools, they don't, they don't perform very well. That is my first question. What can bridge the teaching skills is CPD. And I do know that Zox, you are accredited, hoping that I'm right, you are accredited by the Teaching Council as one of the CPD accredited providers. How can this be improved? Because you are indicating that yes, it's essential, but there is inconsistent implementation in rural areas. How can the CPD be improved in rural areas to upskill the skills of our teachers teaching in the rural areas? Thank you.
I think we may take that first round of questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I will request my colleagues to, I did come with a technical team. I will request that my colleagues pick up the questions, then I can also comment later.
Sure. This is in order.
Thank you so much, Chair. Thank you so much, honorable members, for the questions that you presented before us. I think the first question that was posed has to do with the issue of recruitment and how do we maintain qualified teachers, especially in rural areas. I'm sure as ED presented, we heard that there was a part that mentioned that most teachers actually from rural areas, they want to move to urban areas for obvious reasons. Urban areas having different advantages, and for us to maintain them in rural areas, it simply means that we need to provide the very services that we are delivering in schools that are in urban areas. And one more thing that we can do, I think, is to improve the incentives. I'm aware that currently they do receive a certain amount for teaching in rural areas compared to the ones that are in town. So I think maybe we could increase on that one and also just improve other areas that teachers have been complaining of, the issue of overcrowding, the issue of housing. Most of them do not have decent housing, and that is pushing them to wanting to move from rural areas to urban areas. If we could take care of those basic things, I think then we should be able to maintain the qualified teachers in rural Zambia. I don't know if thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair and honorable members of key areas which our teachers are looking out for example, in rural areas. These are colleagues in towns additional materials for them to use to teach. But if they are cut off from such services, this prompts them to have a desire to say, maybe I better be positioned if this particular peri-urban center looks a bit reasonable in terms of services, like 50 kilometers away from the school. They would rather stay 50 kilometers away from their station. And now that issue of commuting also disadvantages the learners. Hence, if we can lobby that certain facilities, the installations, I think, which our service providers around network, if they can be reaching all these rural areas, I think our teachers will be able to stay. It's beyond them. And the aspect of housing, I think a comprehensive package. We've seen government supporting infrastructure like for police camps. They have these houses. But for teachers, you find that they are servicing a huge population, but you just give them maybe one single house under CDF, and that will be all where teachers have to be sharing. So if we can also increase a fair share of these support to the teaching fraternity, we'll be able to retain qualified teachers in the rural areas. Then the aspect of multilingual, which Honorable Twambo Mtinta indicated to, there are provinces. In our provinces, we have various languages. Like if you start maybe Katete, they will have a bit of Ngoni, Senga mixed. You go to Lundazi, Tumbuka, but the overall language which will be used as a language of instruction is Chinyanja. So you find that sometimes children transition from their own mother tongue of Tumbuka to Chinyanja is an issue. And when are they going to catch up with the foreign language, which is the official language and being proposed? So if we can emphasize that from pre-grade, the language of instruction is emphasized, of course, with the level of interaction with play, it will be able to stimulate the children to have to say, okay, this is the direction. Because children from Isoka, they call chicken, is it Wankoko? But the Bemba will stay in Koko. So the child is confused between Wankoko and Koko.
Just there. When I went to school myself, I think the medium of instruction was English. From grade 1, it went on up to grade 7. Then when the General Miranda came as the Minister of Education, he brought in vernacular, local language to be used from grade 1 to grade 4. By then we didn't have in government schools preschool. Now, also the question is, in private schools, they start in English because maybe children are of different background, but they manage. By grade 4, the students will be very proficient, will be very good in English, and they'll be able to. But we've now brought in the idea of, okay, when the vernacular came, I saw in Tonga, a lion was called zebra in Tonga. I don't know who was writing interpretation in Tonga. I think I saw those books. We had to laugh about it because it was highly done. Now, has this really of bringing the local language, has it had really very big impact than when they were starting in English? I just need to be educated there. Because even when this has been brought in, we still have these pertinent issues that we're talking about now in foundation learning. We brought vernacular, local language, but these problems are persisting, even becoming worse now. I think we can go ahead. I just wanted you to comment on that.
Thank you so much. So, Chair, thank you so much, Chair. Like you have indicated, when you compare the start, if children start with the official language, they are able to easily acclimatize to the circumstances. But the challenge with the vernacular to break through into English, it's also like an issue where you have wasted like 2 years learning your local language in school, then you have to transition to English. You find learners who are able to read Chichewa at grade 7, but the national exams don't come in Chichewa or Tonga. They come in the official language, which is English. So if we can emphasize that the foundation should be in the official dialect, we'll be able to manage these issues. The local dialect gaps we have in our which takes time. It's like 4 years you are learning local language. The people you be now learning in English. We can help out the ministry to address this issue. It will be able to help improve from the very ECE up to the 7th grade. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. I think there's been a lot of effort being put in place to ensure that children are well served. There are definitely some gaps which still need improvement in terms of taking care of the multilingual environment. We are quite a well-blessed country in terms of the dialects that we have, but I think consideration in the education sector should really, the emphasis is about how can the child be better served in our country, and I think that's what the ministry is trying to do. And there is guidance that has been provided to that end, and I think our interest is to see how that is going to be done. And I think we are of the view that the teacher still has to play a critical role in ensuring that the children are well supported despite the background that they are coming from, so that the teaching and learning starts at a very early age. And the subject we are discussing today is very critical, being the foundation. The right start to education is very, very important. So the skill that the teacher comes in to really embrace the diversity in terms of the backgrounds the children are coming from, and also the policy direction that has been given, I think still gives us hope. But I think it's something that all of us as stakeholders in the education sector need to really pay attention to and see how children are well supported. Allow me to also look at the issue of the salary scales, and I know the ministry has tried its best, but I think some of the conversations around the disparities in terms of incentives for especially early childhood education teachers still remains a concern, and even opportunities for promotion still are a concern within this subsector of education. And I think for us, our recommendation is that there should be a way of really giving an incentive to these teachers that are really a very important resource in terms of forming a good foundation.
I need to be educated here. The salaries for foundation teachers lower than for primary? I just want to know. I don't know. Anyone who knows?
Yeah, thank you so much, Chair. In terms of the salary scales, they are different. So the ECE, they are like on the lower bracket, despite even if they are degree holder, they are in the lower bracket in terms of the salary grades. So even pertaining to career progression, somebody cannot, like say, you cannot become a senior teacher as a early childhood teacher because you are like regarded in the lower bracket. So these are the issues where we are advocating to say they should be considered. If it's a degree level at point of entry, they should be given incentives of a degree holder, and like treating them in the bracket of just because their position is in a particular grade. I submit, Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, but there lies a problem. Because if you're running a school, you are headmaster, primary up to foundation level, let's say one like it used to be, you don't just take any teacher to a lower grade. You need a teacher that is very patient, well experienced to handle them. And if you are bringing in these new ones who are not very well, it's very more difficult to teach a preschool or grade 1 class than grade 7. Those who are not experienced, you start them from grade 5. So this is the most difficult part, and that now you're missing that disparity that I don't know, that I didn't know, that they pay them more. I think that should be corrected. Yes.
For early childhood teachers, it's not just the matter of teaching. Actually, you might want to know that it goes beyond teaching. It's more like daycare, right? They have skills over maids. They have to clean the babies, the diapers, and they need additional skill of child safeguarding, issues around the safety of the child. So it seems more complicated than it's beyond teaching. So when the evaluation is made like that, to say that the salary of a childhood teacher is way below than the salary of a secondary school teacher, then the issue becomes something that needs to be addressed.
Thank you, Chair and members. I'll call upon my colleague Munga to just comment on the issue of CPD.
Honorable Minister, members of Parliament, the issue of continuous professional development is very cardinal for all professions, I think regardless of the profession one has, but more particularly for the teachers.
But there's such, you can come and sit here. You can come and sit here, madam, instead of standing. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Honorable Ministers. The issue of continuous professional development for teachers is a critical area which needs to be invested in. I think teachers really need to be upskilled in terms of the different pedagogy skills that they need to learn, and also they need to have new information each and every time so that they also improve and are in touch with the current happenings. So when we talk about the teachers who are teaching early childhood development, I think it is very cardinal that government makes deliberate initiative to ensure that there is a structured and deliberate efforts to ensure that continuous professional development is taking place and that teachers are well supported. This includes just teachers being monitored to just check how they are performing maybe on a quarterly basis, and also just to do some coaching around how they are implementing, I think, the curriculum. And also if there are other programs that they can be also extended to them, maybe there are opportunities to go for a master's program, or if there are any other partners who are also providing different maybe scholarship for teachers to be able to improve their skills. So this is something which should be continuous, so that there's also continuous improvement of skills and knowledge among our teachers. So if it's there but it's not done, it doesn't improve the learning outcomes for our learners. So deliberate efforts around maybe scholarship, mentorship, monitoring, and just check-ins to see how our teachers are doing. This also helps them to have confidence and also contributes to their motivation. I submit.
Yeah, but that brings in another challenge now. You see, in other scaling systems in other countries, if you have a degree, wherever you work, you are working, you are scaled according to your degree. Now, and I want to know first, initially they said foundation learning, the foundation learning teachers would teach from preschool to grade 4. And now they have said grade 1 to grade 4 is primary. Are you with me here? Yes, why am I saying so? The inspectors came. I do follow what they do. First, initially, foundation learning was the teachers at top of qualification. A preschool teacher will teach from preschool to grade 4. Now they have stopped them. They are saying grade 1 to 4 is primary school. So now, we need to get this very, very, very correct and clear. So now, and this issue of degree qualification, at what level now are they paying teachers lowly? Which one, from your definition, I want to ask, which one are you calling foundation learning? Yeah, then Honorable Mtita and Honorable Mute. Yes, I just want to know. Your mic, madam. Your mic. So since he's my father, it's okay. I'll start.
You can go ahead, I think.
So I think you're in good, yeah. You saw me working out, yeah? The problem I have in my life, I don't know how to just talk. That's the problem I have. I walked out because my sister is a teacher. So I had to ask her a question. I think there's a misleading information here. My sister is a teacher. Her name is Rikika Mwenga Chinga. So, I asked her, she got employed last in 2023. Diploma level.
What level? Secondary primary?
ECE.
Okay.
Is your salary lower? That's the question. She said, my salary is a salary for a primary school. Meaning, her diploma of ECE is equivalent to the diploma which is teaching geography. That's what she meant.
Where did she do that diploma from? Which college?
That question now I didn't ask her.
Yeah, why I'm saying so, sorry. Why I'm saying so? Let's just be one. Why I'm saying so? There is also an issue of foundation preschool teachers not taking the length required. Especially when we're going to private schools, within a short period, they are quantity teachers. That was before the government brought in preschool in these colleges. So you find their length of getting their diploma, there are a lot of disparities. Some would take less, some within 1 year, they would get a diploma. For what? For preschool in some of these private schools. And I think then the question comes into higher education authority. That was before it came, which is to really standardize this. But from there now, we now get some from government. But some private schools, and also when they are getting a diploma, they also look at the length you took. For instance, a diploma from every one college, you have to take 3 years those days. They would be put at a higher notch, and the diploma from Kuruma those days will take 2 years. So if a Kuruma started with 2 years, you would start at this notch, when every one college one comes with 3 years. When you put the annual increment, you would start at a higher, where they can start something like that. But there has been some discrepancies in the training for private schools in duration. That one I can attest. I do have evidence, yes. So I don't know, we can go, he's got a question, you can go ahead.
There is also questions that have not been answered.
Yes. So maybe we can leave this one, we'll do our research, we'll ask the ministry, and maybe we can answer the other ones that are
Let me
yes, you go finish.
I want to finish this. The only difference is that the teacher who is teaching ECE has no responsibility allowance. That is one. Two, in short, there are no associated allowances. That's the only difference. So she's saying we don't know why, because our classes also, they have gone beyond the 45. There's some they are 60, 70 students, so.
But where did she train from? That's what I wanted to know. Okay, go ahead, you can answer the questions, Bino. Thank you.
Honorable leaders and members of parliament, I wanted just to make a comment because yesterday there was a meeting on the Foundational Learning Technical Committee, and one of the issues that the directorate mentioned is the cabinet paper that has been submitted for consideration regarding the ECE teachers. I think there is a disparity in terms of the level at which the position is the position within the salary scale. So that is something that the directorate is motivating. They have submitted a cabinet paper to consider to rectify that and also increase the establishment of ECE. Because one of the challenges that is being faced with the foundational learning is that Zambia has qualified ECE teachers, but there's a high migration from ECE going to primary and secondary because of lack of clear career path, but also issues of irregularity around the salary scale. So there is an issue that is indeed the directorate has taken it up. I think with the engagement with the cabinet, those are being ended to be addressed.
So my question is, I want to know, so which level are you grading as the end of ECE, I mean early childhood learning?
Chair, currently with the guidance we have been getting, ECE up to grade 3 is what we have been considering foundational learning, unless otherwise that's what we've been focusing on.
Yeah, I'm saying so because they are no longer allowing them up to grade 3. In terms of, they used to allow them to go up to grade 4. But now this year they changed. So remove them, they need primary. So anyway, who has the minister when it comes? Thank you.
Honorable Chairperson and members, allow me to just say something that we have been doing in terms of as we work in community schools. Our project has been childhood education teachers as well as primary school teachers. Currently, we do have an intervention we've been implementing, the School Readiness Initiative, and we have been focusing on how we support ECE teachers and grade 1 teachers, especially for the children that are preparing to get into grade 1, to just ensure that there's a smooth transition from ECE, because for us that transition management is very, very critical. So our experience has been that while working with the teachers, we have been emphasizing on the need for ECE teachers to work very closely with those in primary school, the early years, to ensure that the gains from ECE are not lost as children progress into primary school. So that has been our experience, and I was just sharing what we have found to be good practice in terms of managing the foundational levels. So that's what we've been able to do in the work that we do. And I would want to believe this is what should be happening in most of the schools, but I've given that example based on our experience as we work with the community schools. Thank you. And there was a question around CPD. What are we doing about ZOCS being a CPD provider in the country? Yes, one of the things that we have been trying to do is ensuring that the teachers are well supported, those in community schools. Honorable members, as you are aware, most of the community schools are actually in very hard to reach areas. And these teachers need a lot of support, and we know that we are among those stakeholders that have been really supporting the teachers with CPD, so that they are not left out in terms of how they can continuously improve on their skills so that they can deliver. It's a well-known fact that community school learners are subjected to a similar exam. So meaning the teachers there need to be able to be in a position to support these learners well. So yes, as an organization, we have focused on ensuring that the teachers in community schools are actually given as much support, mentorship and coaching to ensure that they are ready to provide the support that they need to our learners. And we have seen community schools perform quite well, even at grade 7 level when they write the national examination. So that I wanted to comment on. Thank you very much.
Okay, Honorable Mtinta, then Honorable Mshanga. Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much. So on the CPD, I think we need to be very deliberate here. When we have been warning that the foundation grades need CPD, what are we talking about here? So in your presentation, you mentioned that we need to do this and that without being very specific. So what is it that is currently being done by the ministry? Because I remember I attended the meeting where these early childhood teachers, they were being provided some support. So are we saying, from the ministry point of view, do we have a very clear structured CPD for early grades, or we are saying the CPD part, it's haphazard, it's not structured? So are you able to tell us what is existing now? How would you want it to be done in a defined way, so that there is that level of clarity with very clear deliverables on how we think these teachers can be supported? So do you know what is happening now? From the ministry point of view, what are they doing now? But I feel they are doing something. And I've witnessed something, I not just know what it was. So have you investigated to say, okay, they are doing this, they are better doing it like this, or they are doing this, but they can do it now. So what is on the ground currently?
Thank you, Honorable Member. I think there is a structure for CPD within the Ministry of Education. Our recommendation, therefore, is that it be strengthened so that then the focus around foundational learning skills is emphasized. Because if we are still seeing the crisis that we are seeing in the country around literacy and numeracy, it means we still need to do more around that space so that then we will start seeing the gains that we want to see within that space. I think that's what I'll say for now. Thank you.
Chair, maybe just to add on to what the ED has mentioned, Honorable Mutinta, responding to your question, just yesterday, the Ministry of Education with other partners that we work with, they launched their handbook. They're calling it Top 10 Teaching Practices Handbook. And this one, they're saying it will complement our 2023 curriculum. And if implemented well, it should surely help us to improve the learning outcomes in our schools. But also just to indicate that during the launch, there was a concern raised by the director of ECE, Mr. Kadimika. He emphasized on the need for them to specifically also bring in the component of ECE level into that handbook, which was indicated yes that they're going to look into that. You may want, for the sake of this, to get hold of that copy and just see what is in there. I think I can say that much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Zox, for your presentation. I draw you, or I take you to, I think it should be page 5. Page 5 of your presentation, and under 2. We're talking about current levels of foundational literacy, numeracy in primary schools. But my focus, my particular attention goes to statistics. Honorable Chair, indicate that approximately 98 to 99% of 10-year-olds are unable to read and understand a simple text, reflecting high levels of learning poverty. So, Chair, I was trying to make some mathematics here. In simple everyday terms, the statement means if, for example, you have 10,000 children who are 10 years old, 98% are unable to read and understand the text. It simply means 9,800. If you talk about 99% unable to read and understand the text, it simply means out of the 10,000 children, 9,900 unable to read or understand the text. Chair, if we are talking about, for example, we are talking about a classroom of 50 learners, it's actually only one child, or sometimes none, can properly read and understand the text. In a school, if we take it to a school, a point of view, with 500 learners aged 10, only 5 to 10 learners can read and understand the text. In a community of 1,000 children, we are talking about 10 to 20 children can read and understand text, and yeah. So I just wanted to find out from you, Zox, the schools that you are working with, because for me this is very, very serious. We are talking about maybe only one child or 2 children who are able, sometimes even none. These are very, very serious statistics for me. So I just want to understand if this statistic affects the school that you are collaborating with or the schools that you are supporting. And then if the answer is ineffective, I would want to hear what measures you've put in place as Zox
reverse these statistics that you have presented to this committee this morning. For me, the statistics are very, very high. Very, very high. If you're talking about a year, the year is ending, 2025 is ending, then at the end of the year, only one child or two children, or if possible, even none, they are not able to read and write or understand a very simple text. So does that apply to the schools that you are collaborating with or the schools that you are supporting? I submit Honorable Chairperson.
Yeah, just before you answer, there's also another question Honorable Band asked about teacher competencies. I think it will need to be answered. And then also, Honorable Samuzingin also asked on evidence-based methods on strengthening teacher development. So as you can answer that one first, then we can comment on these two. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair, and the question from Honorable Mshanga. In terms of these statistics, these are findings from the World Bank study, which was done. So it was not just focusing that this child is currently in school or not in school, but they were looking at the age of 10, with the assumption that we are starting grade 1 at the age of 7. So meaning that at the age of 10, I would have interacted in my school environment at least for 3 years, and I should be able to read and numerate at that age of 10. So if you go, if like we took a visit to any school right now in Zambia, the assumption is that if there are 50 learners, like the statistics Mr. Mchang was giving, to say, okay, give them a paragraph, say, read this paragraph at the age of 10. They will be struggling, they will not be able to even comprehend the content, the fluency issues. So these were some of the identified gaps. Does this affect the schools we work with? Yes, to a certain extent. And the remedial measures we are putting in place as Zambia Open Community Schools, interacting with the Minister of Education, is that.
When was that study done?
This was 2024. So in terms of the remedial issues to address this, we are working with the Minister of Education to support the remedial part, which is now in sustainability and the scaling phase of catch-up, so that we address these identified gaps beyond the age of 10, which is grade 4, 5, and some to grade 6. So those are some of the issues we are doing to reverse the scenario. Then in terms of the question asked by Honorable Samuzingin about the evidence-based, so the issue of evidence-based is where we look at when you assess, like the children we are talking of, the 10-year-olds, you have identified that this child is not able to read, cannot maybe even do numeracy, take away the exam of subtraction. Then what do we do with that evidence? So we now place the children in the groups where we are now doing this remediation to ensure we address the problem. And in terms of school managers, when they do these assessments, they find that there is this huge gap. That's why now there is this aspect of teacher allocation to say, okay, this teacher is competent in making children comprehend literacy. They are given that chance to focus on this particular group which has been identified, so that they are brought back to the recommended levels of performance for their grade and age. I submit, Chair. Thank you.
Okay.
Maybe my colleague Gift, you could also add on regarding what you are doing under the School Readiness Initiative, how we are involving parents in helping the children to read and to write.
Okay, thank you so much. So under the School Readiness Initiative, we are providing what are called the bridge to school cards, just to support with home learning, so that when the children go from school, even in their homes, they're able to learn what they're learning from the schools. And just to add on that, under the SRA project, we are conducting assessments, which also provide specific areas for additional teaching of a child. We are also providing extra trainings to the teachers through a self-guided course. So this is an offline application. Even the teachers in the rural areas, they are able to conduct this course through a structured CPD course. I think that's what we are doing. Thank you.
Let me have now the last round of questions, and we end up. Honorable Mitchell, Honorable Mtinta, and that order. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Zox, you will forgive me. Yes. When your friend's house is on fire, do you watch? Hello? When your friend's house is on fire, the late president, his soul rest in peace, Manawasa, he called for a meeting. It was conducted at night at Mungushi International. And I still remember his words. He says, when your neighbor's house is on fire, you don't watch. There were problems with our neighbor in Zimbabwe. So he had to intervene. So I'm requesting through a question to Zox. You have indicated a number of challenges. You have indicated a number of recommendations. In terms of, I don't know the principles under which Zox operates. No apostolic church in Zambia. They choose to preach only to people, preaching, God will come, what. This time they have changed the scene. They are providing, right now in Tarabo, they are installing water points. They are putting up ablution blocks in schools. They are putting up VIP toilets. So they have added one function to that of preaching about God. The issue of infrastructure, it needs concerted effort. Even if we surrender all the CDF on Banda to construct teachers' houses, it won't manage. So, as Zox any space to lobby for funds to go into infrastructure for teachers, like we are saying. Otherwise, we shall continue lamenting, crying, the place will be slow. Okay, I was a teacher, and I'm a teacher, and I will be a teacher. The emotion under the recommendations, we are saying teacher training to include social, emotional training. What I used to do when I was teaching, at break time, I would buy fritters for my students. I would buy, in those days I used to do what you call locally, we used to call it mchapi. Honorable Chair, mchapi is diluted juice, so we would add sugar there, then we would call it mchapi. So I remember buying such for my students. So when you raise this issue, what has Zox observed with the nature of our teachers? Because for me, that's how I'm relating to it, because of this emotion. What have you observed with our teachers? Are they, for those who are teaching these lower grades, it means they can't handle them, there's some shortfall in terms of emotion, or what is it that has made you come up with this recommendation? Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Honorable Mtinta.
Yeah, thank you so much. Mine is just a question out of being inquisitive. When I look at the statistic that is given around the literacy and the numeracy, is this statistic inclusive of private schools, or it's a statistic that is very focused to government schools. I just wanted to understand, and also maybe from my experience, do you think this picture is the same in the private schools? I know you are not the one who did this research. It's the World Bank. But I just want to know, maybe, I'm just trying to think. Because if you are saying it's 99%, and if it's increased for private schools, then maybe the 1% is out from private schools. So maybe we are saying in all government schools, there is none. So I'm just trying to think.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson and members. The issue of infrastructure, yes, we are not watching from the fence. We are actually part and parcel of the process to change the face of our community schools. As you could be aware, honorable members, our organization has been working for over 30 years in the country. And some of the beautiful schools that have been upgraded by government actually started as community schools. So through a journey that we have worked with the Minister of Education, we have seen some of the changes that are there. And we have gone an extra mile as an organization to bring on board private sector to ensure that we can do much more around infrastructure and retain the teachers. So we are actually on a mission to do what we can to ensure that the issue of infrastructure is definitely tackled. And as you know, honorable members, infrastructure is an expensive undertaking. It's not a cheap process, and sometimes to get partners to support that, it takes a bit of time. And sometimes results coming from infrastructure may not come as early as you expect them to be because of the nature of the undertaking. Yeah, so that's what I can say around that. And around social emotional learning, I think it's just the skills that teachers need to embed within their teaching that can support learners differently. Because learners, before they're in class, they're little humans that need to be guided. And there are certain aspects of their well-being and grooming and nurturing that they should be able to have from a very early stage, such as even just collaboration with others whilst in class. For our learners, you see, there are children that come from troubled households, even as little as 3, being in class, they are throwing tantrums. How can such children be supported? Like that's an early intervention that can be given to children that have differentiated nurturing environments so that they can be well supported. So I think it's a skill that every teacher should be able to have for them to be able to really support each individual child. I think that's what I would say around the importance of social emotional learning. It really builds on the well-being of a child. So the skills can be passed on, other skills can be passed on, but these are human skills that we want to nurture from a very young age. Thank you, and I hope that provides a clarification that you needed. Then regarding the statistics, there are parameters that this research was at regarding, the conclusion that was given. For example, proficiency in reading. If a child can still read those words in a certain amount of time, I think there's what is recommended as how many words can be read within a stipulated time. And if a child struggles within that stated time, I think those are parameters that actually lead to such alarming statistics. And out of interest, Honorable Twambo, I think would want to take this as a national picture, but the detail in terms of confirming how this was done, whether it was private, government or other schools, we cannot confirm, but it was a statistic undertaken by the researchers, and we referenced it because it was an interesting statistic, which for us as the stakeholder in the education sector, we thought it was an urgent statistic that needed to be addressed. But also, honorable members, to indicate that as an organization, we supplement the Ministry of Education's work. We do our work aligned to the Ministry of Education, and some of these recommendations, they are also a reflection to our own recommendations that we need to do differently as we continue working in the sector. Thank you, and we submit.
Zox, thank you very much. I think we've really elaborated a lot, which you put in our report. I think we have challenges also now, even in the teachers that are handling foundation learning. There are a lot of gaps I think we have also indicated here their curriculum gaps. So I think we really need to do quite a lot, because I don't know now, colleges like Chawanga, I know, they teach primary from grade 1 to grade 7. Those teachers are able to handle. Now, so I think we need to come clear on how the foundation learning should be done, and also in tandem with the training colleges. Because now there's really a discrepancy now. I don't know from which level are they going to go up to where, and when you call primary from where to where. I think the training also, they should be compatible. Not the training is different. It's regarding primary grade 1 to 7 in training, and then you come in real work. This is for foundation. I think we need just to get everything compatible. So I think you mentioned, like I said, the gaps, especially the gaps in the people that are handling this, is a very major concern. Because like I said yesterday, why should it be a problem if people who never went to school? Because when a child is born, he's not able to walk, he's not able to run, and is handled by parents sometimes who didn't go to school. But they're able to make this child stand, walk, learn to talk, learn even to report or do a lot of things from the learning from the house. And then they leave the house, they go to school where there are buildings, trained people, and they can't learn anything for 4 years. They can't learn anything for 5 years. I think it's very serious. We need to do something to make sure, because if we are going to get innovators, people that can start up something, this is why our education system misses it all. If we are going to get people who can innovate, create something, we are tired of being recipient of other people's technology. We need to start our own technology. But so, with this level, when we learners start being innovative, if he can't even understand the medium of instruction, he can't do simple arithmetic. So when then is he going to be? So by the time we want him to be innovative, he is too old. Yeah, so I think it's very important that we get these things done, and we appreciate your submission always, and we put it in the report. Now that we have come to an end, I now remove Capital, and thank you very much for your detailed submission. Thank you.
Good morning. That was the Zambia Open Community Schools making submissions to the Parliamentary Committee on Education, Science and Technology. And I must mention that this committee is meeting to review the state of the foundational literacy and the numerous levels in primary schools across the country. And the meeting continues tomorrow. Of course, they started sitting on Monday, 12th January 2026, and quite a number of institutions have made submissions to this committee. Some of the institutions, Education Teachers Union, there's the National Action for Quality Education in Zambia, Curriculum Development Center, and the Zambia National Education Coalition, ZANEC, as some of the institutions that have made submissions to this committee that is meeting to review the state of foundational literacy and the numerous levels in primary schools. So we continue bringing to you live proceedings of the committee meetings as the meetings continue. So for now, we take a break and ask you to continue watching Parliament Television.